Hello chickies, welcome to the Fully Booked Penguin channel. I am Hannah and today we are diving into another Plave law study. Now my last video, everyone was very supportive. All my fellow Plea came through. In this series we are studying Plave's law story, but we are going through it as if we have amnesia. We have no outside sources, no outside information. We just have whatever the MV is giving us. So I've been saying we all have amnesia, and therefore we are left here with just the video, maybe a little bit of lyrics if I notice it, but mostly whatever is visually there for the music video. Now last time we did Wait For You, which is their debut. I kept accidentally calling it Way For You. I had so much fun watching it and editing it. It was my first time doing anything like it, so it was a little all over the place, but I had fun, and that's really what we're here for. And then later we'll try and figure out what's really going on in the Plave Astrum Terror world. But for now we're going to go back into Amnesia Zone. We're going to forget any outside information and focus on just the video. And today's video is going to be the 6th summer. This is the only video of Plave that is animated, so the usual animation techniques, so 2D. Now I have seen comments saying there's a reason behind this, but no one ever tells you the reason. I find that's a lot of Plave's lore, in English at least. You have many people telling you stuff, but they back it with zero evidence. They're not like, oh, I got it because Plave said it in this live stream. And I'm like, just give me the evidence with it, please. So the first time I'm going to go through, I'm going to take the captions off, and then later we'll turn it on for a final sweep through and just to read the lyrics in case it gives some of the storyline away. So this MV was released on the 16th of August 2023, and of course the company is V-Last, and the group is Plave. And the members are Yejun, Noah, Bambi, Eunho, and Hamin. Go check out the first video if you haven't, or you can jump in here, but you'll be missing some of the backstory. I'm not sure how much it will tie into this one though, because the other one was very much in Astrum world, whereas this animated one, I don't know whether it feels quite the same. Just by this one image here, it looks more school day-ish. With Bambi. So let us go with the law study. Bambi. Oh, that was a water drop inside. Meanwhile, Noah is outside or under a structure. Eunho, Yejun, Hamin with a cat, looking kind of melancholy. Okay, so Bambi is inside school, gets dripped on from inside. So his little classroom is filling or filled with water. Just some general schooling stuff in the background. Nothing seems quite clear enough to read. So I assume it's all very Korean schoolish. I have to admit, I never had this schooling experience, so everything is going to be new to me, and if I miss a school reference, I'll have no idea. And then university is just a bit different from school, because you're all adults and you're going to different classes and you wear casual clothes and you just do whatever the heck you want, really. As long as you pass. Study hard. That was all I ever did at uni, was study. Study fiction, study all the storytelling techniques and editing and publishing and journalism. Oh, it's a tough world out there. Anyway, so I haven't had the school experience, so if I miss any references that are very specific to school days, it will go right over my head. Then we have Noah, who I think is outside, but like under a structure. He seems to be doing the whole hold out his hand and wait for the drip drops. We have all done that at some point, I think. Don't want to assume other people's lives, but... Then we go to Eunho, who is either sweating or has been out in the rain. But considering he's been playing basketball, I assume. He has his basketball, so I assume he's been working out. He's been playing basketball by himself. That is my assumption, because it looks like in his area, it's kind of light sunniness. Then we have Yejun, who is outside amongst the people. It's dangerous out there, Yejun. Again, you can't really read anything, but it looks like that person in the background. If you look really closely, look, you could assume that's some sort of aquatic sea creature. on their badges, which would be a reference to Yejun's first one with his marine biology. But otherwise, he's looking sad. Oh, we have a flower. Wow, it is on for half a second. I'll screenshot it. I will look up the flower and its meaning, because sometimes the flowers in these things, same as in the game Love and Deep Space, the flowers mean stuff. So now I am hyper aware when things mention flowers, because I'm like, wait, are you trying to tell me something? Is this lore? Okay, so now we have Hamin, who is with a little kitty cat. I'm assuming that's the school in the background. Looks more schoolish than like train station-ish. It could be train station, but it's hard to tell, so I'm going to assume, I don't know whether it looks schoolish though. Alright, and he has 2 little sticks in his little pocket. Is that for feeding the kitty cat? But he also has an umbrella. Cute. See, he does end up smiling, Hamin. It does like this really sad, like, oh, it's cute kind of smile. Like you're feeling depressed, and then you're like, but the cat is cute. So you do that like half-hearted smile. You know, that is that is this kind of smile I just saw Hamin make. Then we have some doves taking flight. Bambi is watching the birds. He's reminiscing. Aww. Sorry, Bambi. We're gonna have to go back to each of those memories of yours. I know it must be sad reliving it, but we're gonna have to relive it for just a moment, just so I can tell what you're reminiscing about. Because lore. So he's in like a cityscape, but it's like real world. It's like Terra looking. It looks like Terra, a city you would find in Terra, to be honest. And then on his guitar case, we have their little critters. So obviously Hamin is with a cat, therefore is cat. The brethren, they come together. Then we have a dolphin, which is obviously Yejun, because he is the marine biologist. Bambi in pink, obviously deer, because Bambi, the deer. Bambi, the animal. Bambi, the alien. School lad. Then we have our fanged wolfy boy, who is Unho. Look, I must admit, not sure why Noah is an alpaca or a llama. I will have to look up the difference between alpaca and llama. I may research it and put it here, so we can both know. Why is Noah a llama alpaca? Maybe we'll never know. Alright, show us your memories, Bambi. So we have Noah and Yejun getting along, they're best pals. Bambi is running to catch up. Unho seems to have just woken up from a nap in the background there, and Hamin is snacking. Snacking is one of my favorite pastimes. So that's cute. They seem to be all palling up. They're a little group. Alright, we have our next little memory photo. So Hamin is over here with a green guitar. His color does seem to be green. An electric guitar. And we have Noah, who is now sleeping, cutie, with his llama and heart blanket. That is adorable. He seems so happy. Now I don't know whether he's smiling with his eyes out or he's just napping. I'm going to choose that he is taking this moment to nap. Though how he is napping with Unho right next to him, it seems like a talent. Anyway, Unho is saying no to whatever Bambi is telling him with the music. So he's obviously got drumsticks. So he's Unho drummer boy. Is that his talent? Does he drum? And then we have Bambi, who is happily trying to teach Unho the ways of the sheet music, maybe. Brainstorm. And then Yejun with his little sheet music as well, just overlooking the entire process. Oh, we have more information. Alright. Plave released live at Astrum. We have Nam Yejun's identity card, student identity card. Astrum, the shape of things to come. Plave. This isn't quite Hamin, but there is the whole blocky grid line thing that could technically be classed as a Hamin worldly thing. But his was very cute. If you remember last video, we said that Hamin was very cute. Then we have some sheet music. We have each of their name tags. So we have Do Unho, Nam Yejun, Yu Hamin, Han Noa, Che Bongu. Che Bongu is obviously Bambi. Then we have little like cartoon versions of them. Yejun looks like a scared shark. He's got like a little shark fin on his back. Eunho is wolf. He's got his little claw and he's got his ears. Bambi is over there with his little Bambi ear, his real ear, and then little antlers. Noah's down the bottom, looking sleepy as all heck. I hate the reference, but you know, the paint me like one of your French girl poses. There is Hamin at the back. You can just see his cat ear. Just. He's obviously a black cat though. I think Yejun even has a little fishtail. Noah has his little ears, which I assume are llama ears. And they are on it could be a PlayStation, I suppose. But he's got a controller for gaming. And I assume the top line is parallel. Right? Parallel curve. I think it says parallel curve. Team Clave. I can't quite make up what that piece of paper says. Or turned away from his memories. No! He's got his piano. Oh, no, that's Noah got his piano. So Bambi just kind of turns away. Like he's like, these memories are too much. Oh no! You don't want memories of your friends to be too much for you. So he starts running. Meanwhile, Noah is over here with the keyboard. So he looks like he's already in a classroom. But it's empty. And Hamin with his green guitar. Nice. Then we have Eunho with his drum kit. But it looks like it's slightly dusty. You know when you get those tiny sparkles in a dusty room? So either he hasn't played the drums for a while, or they've kind of been put aside. That's what I'm getting from that. And we have Yejun, who's listening to music. Bambi is running. Run! Oh, those were definitely tears. No! Bambi! He's run. Oh, it's the room they were all practicing in. He's run home. But his home is empty. Aww. Okay, let's pause it on this one. He looks determined though. So good on him. He has a moment of determination. Get that determined. Yeah, so it just says join the club. Play. His music room is empty. No. Oh, he's memorizing. Looks like Eunho got unhappy for some reason. Maybe they had a bit of an argument. So Eunho's unhappy. Now he's sitting on the couch where they were having. Oh, he sat in the exact same spot before with Eunho on the ground and like Noah sleeping. Woo. Okay, so the rest of the group. Whoa, Noah is very slumped over. They were looking very solemn though. Okay, so Eunho left, a bit angry, and then the rest of them are looking very sad. No, they're leaving Bambi behind. No. No wonder Bambi is sad. They all just left. What triggered them? What triggered the band breakup? Oh no. Does the water indicate his sadness levels? Like how he's drowning in feelings? Because at the beginning he had the water in the classroom. So maybe it's just the flooding of emotion and thoughts and everything when he's kind of dwelling on it is the sign of the water. The drowning and the pressure or the heartbreak. Again, he's got his little guitar there. He is gonna get drowned, no! Oh, he's underwater. He's... Okay, there's that marigold again. Okay, this time it has a little butterfly. It's on screen for like 2 frames. Anyway, there's a butterfly and then the marigold. Then we have Yejun. He's still listening to his music. So he's still surrounded by people. But they do look like they are students. At least some of them are students. Got his little umbrella. Finally sunny. He doesn't look happy it's sunny though. We have the buildings. They are numbered buildings. Little car drumming away. I don't know whether he's like looking at his like very cityscape confined life. And he's like, Does this place feel like home? Maybe not. Maybe his friends are. Noah, looking at his paper. Now Enho's sweating while he plays his drums. His little tag that he had there on his music stand. Oh, I think it's just his name, Do Enho. And he has a little he has the little flower, the yellow flower. I think it's a marigold. But if I'm wrong, that's going to be really embarrassing. But he's still practicing his music, so is Noah. And he's off on his skateboard. They're all running. Yeah. I'm going to point it out again, but Noah and his like little freckle under his eye. His dark freckle. Ah, I love it so much. Whenever I see it, it's like a little burst of serotonin through me. Run, laddies! Go save. Oh, was it a bike? Wait, go back. Was it a bike instead? It looked a bit skateboardish, but it may have been a bike. Okay, so it is a bicycle. But who is it? I couldn't tell. No, he has a backpack. So it wasn't her. He was on a bicycle, not a skateboard. I don't know, the way he was moving looked a bit skateboardish, but it was obviously not. It was obviously a bicycle. My mistake. Anyway, big moment. They all arrived! Aww, look at them. They're here. Bambi. Your lads have returned. Aw, he's so happy. That hug though. That must have been such a healing hug. Oh, they're so happy. Look at that shot. After all that heartbreak, those heavy feelings being portrayed. Oh, cuties. We still have almost a minute left. And then out comes the sun through the clouds. I mean, it's still cloudy, but for the moment. Give me a second. There were signs. There are signs. Okay, there's Duksung, Sungsu, Hanyangdae, Hanyang University. That was where Yeojun was sitting before. It's all entrance to the train station. There. The rooftop. Classroom, music room. The basketball place. Bambi's classroom. Where's the cat? No one knows. The marigolds. And there they are with all them instruments. Oh, Bambi is also an electric guitarist. We finally saw his guitar. Wait, we saw the sign from earlier. They're all practicing together. Yeah, I think it's parallel curves. I'm pretty sure that says parallel curves. Yeojun is singer. And they're in amongst a field of marigolds / flower I will now look up. And that's how we finish the video. So I'm going to write down the lyrics, have a study of the lyrics, and I'm going to quickly make notes of what we saw in the video. And I'm going to look up marigolds and see if they're the actual flower. And I will be back. Alright, I have been away. I've done my research like a good law student. And we are now ready to go through the lyrics and the theories that I have come up with. Let's go through the lyrics first. Then we will regather and go over lore and the video and pictures and stuff. So these lyrics were taken straight from the Plave video. So if they aren't accurate, then unfortunately the Plave staff have inaccurately translated it. But I'm hoping it's correct, because this is some good writing. Talking about eternity, wished it wasn't a dream. There will be a light after the chaos. When the rain drops, it will be just for a moment. The memories from the bright day were like miracles. A little further, further. Will I be able to reach you? Only if I could put an end to this long journey. I know my last drop of sweat won't be to no avail. In the middle of seasons repeating, found the light that I've been longing for out of the darkness. Running towards you beyond this space-time, the place I reached was the start of the 6th summer. I dreamt
Blue sky like teardrops, it pours even on bright days. This road I've been running, I sped up, scared to hesitate and lose it again. There won't be a seventh summer. Endless parallel world ended up passing the same place. Is this a dream? Is this a dream? The moment we come together feels like a dream, a magical dream. Will it disappear? Will it come to an end? Will it come to an end? The miracle of teardrops that shone brightly shine for me. In the middle of seasons repeating, found the light that I've been longing for out of the darkness. Running towards you beyond this space-time, the place I reached was the start of our 6th summer. I dreamt. And then it ends off with an alarm sound. My recital skills aren't brilliant, but there we go, that's the rough gist. Now it mentions the 6th summer is what they're about to start, and 7th is where they're not sure they're going to get there. So it's been 5 summers or 5 years of them longing and chasing after this dream or goal, and they haven't been able to reach it, obviously. In Hamin's section, he talks about he speeds up, he's scared to hesitate and to lose it again. So they're kind of doubling down on their efforts rather than give up. They're like, let's put in this last burst, this last effort, and try again. And so their goal is to be together. That's their sort of dream. But they also fear that it would just come to an end and that it really would be a dream. There's the dream in the literal sense of at night you dream, and then there's the dream as in your goals, what you wish for kind of thing. Obviously, with the I dreamt repetition and then the alarm clock sound, it sounds like it could be both, that sort of uncertainty, but it did seem to end on a hopeful note. The other thing I'd like to point out is the mention of endless parallel worlds ending up passing the same place. So it's like no matter where they are, what kind of decisions they make, they end up passing the same point. And so that same point hopefully is where they're together. And that kind of brings us to the music video again, because I did some looking up, and the video definitely is inspired and takes place on Terra or Earth in Seoul. Along the Han River are these different places, like the university and the different places it has on the signs, as well as the bridge scenes, which looks like it's over the Han River as well. Now, since the last one, I do know what Krellum is, but since we're having amnesia, I won't reveal what Krellum is currently. We technically have it partially figured out, but I won't share it now. So Astrum and the previous worlds that we saw them in, whether it was like a manhwa webtoony world that they were previously in, they were all pretty much uninhabited, except for Yejun, Noah, Bambi, Eunho, and Hamin. And Bambi and Eunho were the only ones in their world, but they were at least together. Now in this video, because it takes place on Terra, there are other characters and other people walking around, and the cars are driving, and the birds are still there. So birds in both worlds exist. We also had a cat this time, Hamin and his cat. And in this world, it appears that they have a band which is Parallel Curve. We saw the poster for them, and I believe that was a poster for their band. And of course they had those little cartoony characters of each of them. So I think on Terra, in this parallel world, they have Parallel Curve as their name, but they also have Team Plave. Like in the same screen is Team Plave. But it could just be all the different things coming together. Their previous name was Parallel Curve, but they changed their name to Plave once they joined their company. And I also looked up the marigold and its meaning. So in general, a marigold's meaning is joy, resilience, and passion, and then purity, divinity, and a connection between life and death, which I felt had less to do with this one. However, the Korean meaning of a marigold, sad goodbye, love, and then happiness coming one day. And that kind of fits with the theme of the video, which is they say goodbye at one point, they obviously care about each other, and then they come together in the future, i.e. at the end, to have happiness. Happiness coming one day, and that's their goal or dream, is to find that happiness one day. Now, if you remember, there was the marigold with the butterfly on it, so I also looked up what a butterfly means in Korea. The butterfly is a symbol of beauty, freedom, and change or rebirth, which again throughout the video things change, and hopefully towards the end it rebirths towards a new future. And so the places we see in this world are the classroom, the train station, a cityscape, the river, the bridges. We see people, we see the birds, we see the basketball court, if I didn't mention that. Now we can get into the members. So in this one, Bambi was, I think, probably the main character. The others had a part, but Bambi was really the focus character of this video. Now we do have the water in the classrooms, and this sort of symbolism of him drowning in these emotions or in a turmoil. In a lot of media, it's sort of considered a way of sort of giving up, is when you just start drowning or sinking down into water. They like to use that in a lot of entertainment and storytelling. So that's definitely a part of what's going on for him. And we have that he's a deer, and his colour is pink. He has a little deer cartoony character as his sort of avatar for the Parallel Curve band, and we also have him playing the electric guitar. Also, side note, he has grey shoes. Now you may be wondering, why did you take note of the shoes? It comes in later, okay? So along the way, he appears to be really excited and happy with his friend group before things hit the fan. He runs to the classroom where they practice. It's like he has this last burst of enthusiasm and then realizes that he can't do it alone, and so the waters rise. And when the others do arrive, he is so happy to be reunited with his band members, and it's just adorable. His guitar carries all the members. He really seems to be the one that is like, you are all my pals, you are all my friends. Can't we just please do this thing together? Next up, I found the next most intriguing character to be Eunho. He has several scenes that could relate to what the message of the story is. Eunho is used obviously as a trigger to these events that ultimately led to the disbandment of the group for a while. Now at first it's not really obvious what has happened. We have him playing basketball, and so he's sweating from the effort, but the ball isn't with him. It's in shot, but not really next to him or in his hands, and usually you would sit down with the ball, have it right by your side, but it's kind of off to the side. Now obviously Eunho is the drummer of the band, and his little avatar is a little wolf human. He's got a red wolf sticker on Bambi's guitar case. Now obviously it is shown that Eunho is the one that first left, and he left quite angrily. And then we see later that he goes to his drum set, but they're kind of left in a dusty, abandoned room. So it's almost like he's abandoned that dream. But then also he ultimately goes and sits down at this abandoned drum set and drums up a storm. And I think he comes to the realization that drumming is something he wants to do, and he runs off with his red bicycle. I could have sworn it was a skateboard, guys, but no, it is definitely a bicycle. Another note to make is that on his little keychain is his Do Eunho little tag, but also a tiny little marigold, as I pointed out. Now, in my opinion, in my theorizing, I mean, it's been 4 summers, 4 years that they've been chasing this dream, right? And I think he had his basketball career or music. And in my headcanon, his parents encouraged him to pursue the basketball because, I mean, you can get scholarships for sport, and I mean, everywhere. They love sport. It's like almost a patriotic thing to do, would be to play for your basketball team. And so Eunho, forced to choose, was like, look, music ain't going anywhere, let me drop the music. But ultimately decided no, music was his dream. That's my theory, anyway. But he ended up choosing Our Plave, of course, or Parallel Curve, and he wore black shoes. Again, it's relevant, okay? It's relevant. So now for the other 3. Again, they're all important members of the Parallel Curve band, but they just played less of a role in this video. So Yejun, for one, he was at the subway station, and then he had his umbrella, of course, and he was the one that was surrounded by people. And he seemed surrounded by lots of movement and everything, but in himself, he seemed rather lonely. Like he was alone while being amongst all this group. Also, his character in the band was a little dolphin, his little avatar, and therefore that also transferred to a blue dolphin on Bambi's guitar case. And also, he was listening to music while he was at the station, and we discover that he is the singer of the band. He had blue shoes on. It took a bit of deduction. It took maybe a dive into a different video, and I discovered that indeed his shoes were blue. Next we have Noah. And really, Noah spent most of his time at the school. And his thing is that he has an alpaca little avatar for the band, and he has, therefore, alpacas on his little blanket, as well as Bambi's purple sticker. Now, I did try to look up what an alpaca meant, and as far as I could tell, there was no great significant meaning to an alpaca. So I still have no idea why Noah chose an alpaca. But maybe in the future I'll find out. Now, in the flashbacks, he seems to be besties with Yejun. They're like pillow huggies in one of the pictures, so I choose to believe that they are besties. And then in the present, of course, he is still practicing his keyboard. So he's in a different classroom practicing it up. I don't think he's abandoned his dream. I think he's still working on it, but because everyone split off, he's kind of alone. He's still technically pursuing music, but it's also not as fun without the group. And ultimately, he is the one that gets Bambi hugged at the end when they come back together. He does receive the hug of the Bambi, which is adorable. Another thing I noticed, that in the scene where they're practicing the instruments, it seems like Noah is the one that envisions them in a marigold field, playing their instruments instead. It kind of, the way it is shot, it makes it look like we're in his head as they all play their music. So I don't know what that means, but that's what I picked up. And finally, his shoes are like a pale pink. They've got a pale pink hue to them. Finally, we have our maknae Hamin. So he seems to be on his way home throughout the video. And in the band, he is the bassist. I did look it up. I looked up what had 4 strings. Like, the 4 strings was really what gave it away. I was like, no, that is a bass guitar. So he is the bass guitarist in the group. And his whole thing, his little avatar, his little sticker, is a black cat. And he's also, therefore, seen with a black cat, who's kind of his companion, despite him looking very melancholy and just sad that his little group has come to an end. Now, we do see him at one point in like a concrete jungle apartment complex, like he's in front of that. And I don't know whether that's sort of indicating this cramped, sort of blank canvas, uninteresting sort of shoebox life that is happening around him. It's like the buildings are numbered, it's cramped, it's all grey. And I think that might be reflective of where he is at in the story. But of course, fortunately, him and his beautiful green eyes go back to the group. And he is such a happy tall boy in the end. And I was so happy to see him being a happy tall boy. Also, his shoe colour is white. And they're kind of a different design from the rest of the shoes. And now you get to know, why am I talking about shoes? Well, when they enter the room, they have different shots of their shoes and then of the people. And every time we see a shot of the shoes, it's different to when we see a shot of them. It did put me off, because I was like, wait a second, that person's not standing there. The continuity from scene to scene was not matching up, and it was confusing me. And really, that's the only reason I made note of shoe colour. The reason I found out I guessed at it, and through the scenes I managed to figure it out, but then I also went to the special performance video of the 6th summer, and in that one, they are wearing the shoes, they are wearing their outfits, and so I could definitely tell in that one. So Yejun with his blue shoes, Bambi with his grey shoes, Minho with his black shoes, Noah with his slightly pink shoes, and Hamin with his white different design shoes. And also I saw that they had like a little marigold there, so it continued on, and Bambi's guitar in the 3D was so cool. Of course, all of these things were in the 3D avatar state. So the conclusion I came to with this video is that it was in Terra. It may have been a parallel universe world where they all live in Terra instead of Astrum and other worlds. And that their group was called Parallel Curve, but may have been changing to Plave. And that they split off mainly because they had been working out this dream for far too long. And Eunho was feeling pressured to go a different route that was more sustainable. And then ultimately they all sort of split off on their own, because without one member, they can't work. And so then they all split up. But then they all came together in the end, and it saved Bambi, who was like lost without it. And now they're going to live happily ever after. But it was like a parallel, alternate timeline. That is the conclusion I've come to, or my theory. But I think that does us for this video, The Sixth Summer by Plave. That is our lore study. I actually had so much fun with this one. Because it was 2D and a little bit more simpler, with less things happening in the background and the foreground, it was so much easier to follow. That's why this video is a little bit different from the first. But really, each of these videos will be a different style probably, because my energy and my creativity fluctuates. So if you have any of your own theories or any evidence-backed, linked proof of theories, I would love to hear them below. And so until next month, or whenever I get around to the next video, I shall leave you all here. So until next time, peace.
티니로그 끝.